Welcome to Text Messages of the Resurrection. My name is Rick Tex. I'm the host, the parasite of this show. I'm glad to be broadcasting to you from Elk River, which is located in central Minnesota. Very beautiful part of the country of the United States of America, which is part of North America, a part of what would be considered the West. One of the reasons why it's considered the West is because civilization, human settlement, at least recorded human settlement, wasn't until after parts in other regions of the world when the world was assumed to be flat, and apparently Japan was considered the East, even though you have to go west to get there. So it's a bit of a difficult chore to explain that one away, but for the most part, it is part of the Western Hemisphere. A part of a planet called Earth too, which is part of the solar system. I think it's the Milky Way, but I don't really know it. It could be the Snickers or possibly even the Reese's. So one of them three though. Well, actually, it might even be something else too. So it's hard to keep up with astronomy, especially when you got TV to watch and video games to play, or walking around at night. There's a lot of busy things going on just in general. So to keep up to speed with astronomy, it's not really the easiest endeavor. Yeah, I mean, maybe if you read a couple science articles, you get up to speed pretty quick. But for the most part, they don't really know a whole lot about it. Just that, there's Earth, Mars, Venus, Neptune, a couple other planets too. But yeah, it's something that we're not entirely too concerned with. Now, as far as the moon, I guess it's just some rock that orbits the Earth, apparently. So, I've never been there. You think if 1960s technology could bring people there, that 2018 technology could routinely go back and forth there. I mean, if you look at 1960s technology, what do we have for trains? I don't even think they had they probably didn't have bullet trains back then, or trains that went to over 60 miles per hour. Well, the cars there's some pretty fast cars back then, those giant block engines, or whatever they're called, muscle cars. So yeah, the cars are pretty powerful, carbureted. Nowadays they're all fuel injection, everything is computer controlled. As far as spark, ignition, timing, exhaust, valves, this, that, and the other thing. So, just based on the advancement, and the automotive industry is a pretty slow-moving industry compared to Silicon Valley, or computers and cell phones and insanely expensive cameras now. Probably in the 60s, once the transistors went from vacuum tubes to on an integrated circuit, then things really started to pick up speed. But apparently, we were able to land on the moon with a bunch of vacuum tubes inside a space capsule. So, yeah, I mean, you would think that prior to even cell phones being a concept, to now cell phones being widespread and more or less a handheld computer that doubles as a communication device, that we would probably be able to routinely send people to the moon and back, but that doesn't yet seem to be the case. Maybe if SpaceX or Virgin America has anything to say, then we will be able to make that. But you probably will have to be pretty wealthy by the time that becomes available and an opportunity for you, the ladies and gentlemen at home. But apparently until then, we'll just settle with driving around some gas-powered cars, or hell, maybe we can go back to the horse and carriage, the horse and buggy, or just riding on horseback. Why not? Maybe a couple camels too, if global warming takes over and all of a sudden Minnesota never has freeze-thaw cycles. Then it probably would be useful to have some camels that can store water for long periods of time. But until then, maybe some oxen too. Yank around a little buggy or carriage. Throw on some a wool shirt and you're pretty much good to go. You can pop the Oregon Trail up and call her good. Now there's one thing I wanted to make sure I was able to discuss today, ladies and gentlemen, and that's when you go to a grocery store or just any store in general, manufacturer's labels. Because, for example, laundry detergent. Now you may go to the laundry, this actually happened today. I went to Aldi's and I was going to obtain some laundry detergent. Now, whether laundry detergent actually cleans your clothes or whether it just puts a bunch of weird chemicals that then gets into your skin and disrupts your endocrine system, we're not yet going to debate that. I mean, more than likely, probably all disrupts your endocrine system, but we'll just assume that it actually cleans and does everything that it's advertised and makes your clothes clean and smell good again. So, when I went there, I was going to get this laundry detergent, and on the very front it says it contains 0% optical cleaners, dyes, and something else. Maybe liquid nitrogen or something along those lines. But it says 0% optical cleaners. And then, looking at the ingredients list, it had a bunch of 10-syllable names that you couldn't really pronounce. Sodium hydrochloride, butyl hexalenone, or something weird like that. One of the ingredients was optical cleaner. So I flipped it around and looked at the front and it said 0% dyes, optical cleaner, and that other liquid nitrogen. So you really had to wonder a little bit, what exactly does 0% mean? I mean, is that rounded down from 49% or 0.03%? So how is it that the ingredients say optical cleaner and the front says 0% optical cleaner? It was very confusing, and in fact I was so confounded by it that I made sure to post not post, but to film it on the handheld communications. The handheld computer that also doubles as a communication device. Because it says 0% fragrances, dyes, and optical cleaners. Then on the ingredients list, it says optical cleaner. So I mean, it just doesn't even make any sense. I mean, there's like a war on words going on, but yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's difficult to know what we're up against here sometimes. Because if you're just trying to be an honest, hard-working individual that wants to make yourself and your family and your communities great again, and you just want to be a reasonably healthy person, and you got to be face-to-face with silly, subliminal, or maybe even misleading or intentionally deceptive, or just sloppy advertising. I mean, when you got to face a cavalcade on all fronts of everything I just mentioned, sloppy advertising, subliminal advertising, intentionally malignant advertising, all that stuff, it puts you in a pretty deep hole. One of the most detrimental aspects, though, is marketing sugar to children, especially in colorful packaging on the lower parts of the shelves, because that's ultimately where the children are. Now, yeah, maybe it won't, maybe you could just not bring your child to the grocery store, but then what do? You just go out and hunt your own deer or raccoons or something, or turkey, for example. So it's a tricky game to play, but I'm here to try to guide you, at least as much as I possibly can, to right from wrong and good from bad, left from right. So, going back to the Consumer Reports that we talked about, we talked about weird drugs in meat and ketamine, some type of hallucinogenic drug, party and stuff. So, if you eat a lot of turkey on Thanksgiving and you start hallucinating and feel like you're at a party or a rave, or like you just downed a whole bunch of ecstasy, then yeah, maybe you got a bad batch of turkey. But there's another article in that same Consumer Reports that was hidden health risks from heavy metals. Now this isn't the kind of heavy metal like deicide or vomitory, Dimmu-Borg or Morbid Angel. I'm talking about chemical elements: lead, cadmium, mercury. It says arsenic, but yeah, I suppose that's probably heavy metal too. Why not? Now before all heavy metals are assumed to be detrimental, humans actually do require some metallurgy in them. Copper, for example, maybe a little bit of silver. Supposedly it's a good antibiotic. Hopefully not, probably not the kind of antibiotic that kills all the biotics in your digestive system and then causes diseases to fester like Salmonella and E. coli. It weakens your immune system. But the type of good antibiotic that kills the bad, basically. So, humans also need zinc and iron. That's kind of a no-brainer. Now, when you look on a cereal box and you see zinc, iron, copper, manganese, magnesium, selenium, vitamin B, C, A, D, E, K, when you see all that stuff on a cereal box, and I can't automatically assume that it's in its nascent form. You have to assume that it's bonded with some dirty chemical that doesn't allow it to become available to your body. So what your body does, your liver and your kidneys, they see it as excrement. They try to filter it out, and then you'll usually urinate it out. That's why when you eat a lot of cereals or other high carbohydrate food that doesn't really have much nutritional value, you will urinate a lot more frequently than high fat and high protein. That's certainly one of the things that I can absolutely say without any question in my mind, that when you eat too many carbohydrates, especially close to bedtime, you will urinate frequently. If you eat a lot of fats and proteins, you will not urinate frequently. So it's not so much eating before bed, it's just eating garbage before bed. Garbage in, garbage out frequently. Good in, good out infrequently. That's mostly the correlation that I've made with energy consumption. So getting back to the heavy metals, death metals, black metals, whatever you want to call it. So we got arsenic, cadmium, lead, mercury. Arsenic linked to type 2 diabetes and bladder cancer. Mercury damages nerves and leads to muscle weakness, lack of coordination, impaired vision and hearing. A while back I met this, I didn't really meet him, but I went to this dental office and the dentist there was mercury free. He claimed that he encountered, obviously dentists that drill into mercury and everything like that, and the people helping him out too, they're going to be exposed to a lot of mercury as well. So his claim was that he was a little bit more sensitive to it than the average person. So when he was dealing with drilling into people's teeth and mercury and everything like that, he found it difficult to hold his hand still because he didn't have the fine motor controls. So when you get exposed to mercury, especially, there's a lot of mercury in tuna, mackerel, orange, Jewy, some kind of orange orange roughy fish, whatever that is. So shark, swordfish are all high in mercury. They're big fish. Pretty much every fish has mercury because apparently coal plants emit mercury as one of their pollutants, and then that gets in the water supply. So basically all the fish have it, and the bigger fish eat the little fish, and then they accumulate it, so then they have a whole bunch of it. But, the older they are, the more they have. So yeah, that's pretty much where mercury is found. And of course, I don't know if any new dentists still put mercury fillings in. It's usually an amalgamation of tin, silver, probably lead, or maybe not lead, but a bunch of other weird, goofy stuff. So, yeah, mercury is certainly not an ideal thing for any human to have. But if you're going to eat a bunch of tunas and things of that nature, it's probably a good idea to also eat a type of food that could bond with it and help to extinguish it from your body. Apparently garlic is one thing that helps to get it out of your body. But yeah, for the most part, you just need to maybe do a little bit of research into that and everything too. Chronic cadmium exposure may lead to kidney, bone, and lung disease. Cadmium is used in batteries. Nickel cadmium battery, for example. You probably heard of that. Lithium cadmium, not really sure if they've made any of those types of batteries, but they find protein powders have for some reason have high levels of cadmium. But maybe what happened is they did a few measurements a while back and then they found some cadmium, so it might just be a completely isolated research article that's just been festering and perpetuating ever since the first one came out. So, before we throw them too far under the bus, it is a good idea to consider that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, rice has arsenic. Apparently, rice, for some reason, the roots take up the arsenic in the soil a lot more than many other plants. So, when you cook it, apparently using more water is better and it helps dilute it or something like that. But yeah, I mean, you're probably just better out just finding clean sources. And what one of the articles did conclude is that organic products are just as likely than conventional to contain heavy metals. Apple and grape juice have arsenic at higher levels than drinking water. Basically, any concentrated fruit juice is probably not very good for people. It's more or less just sugar water. So you're best just to avoid it. Chocolate can contain arsenic as well. Apparently the darker the chocolate, the more arsenic it can contain. No, yeah, I mean, there's going to be pollutants in all things that you eat, and the more sensitive measurements we make, the more pollutants we will likely find. So, again, the more and more humans have sensitive measurement devices and tools and creativity as far as detecting pollutants and dangerous chemicals in the food and water supply, the more we're going to find based on poor farming practices. So probably the best strategy is just to buy local, buy people who do their own farming and don't need to use commercialized equipment that's really dirty and everything like that. So yeah, there is that to consider. But really the best thing is probably just to farm yourself if possible. Oh yeah, if you live in some coffin apartment, that's not real feasible, so it might be a good idea to consider a lifestyle change. But it's probably out of the question for some individuals. So yeah, just try to learn the environment and everything. There was one time a couple of years back, people were walking around the neighborhood and trying to pander or to sell some Girl Scout cookies. I told them quite simply. I looked at the ingredient box and I told them that they might want to research these chemicals before they try to peddle them onto the public. And I also told them that if they were willing to sell healthy ingredients and products, and they're willing to put some work into it, and they were willing to make their communities great again, that I would be willing to pay them 10 times what the grocery store is selling conventional sweet potatoes for if they would grow sweet potatoes. So my thought would be, that in this neighborhood everyone's got an acre lot. So I mean, anyone could easily plow out a small portion of their land, grow one sweet potatoes, and sell me 100 pounds, and let's say they're $1 a pound at Cub Foods, so I'd have to give them $1,000. Unfortunately, they didn't really take me up on that offer. At first after I offered it to them, I was a little concerned because I was thinking, well, this might backfire because if they come over here with 200 pounds worth, I'm going to owe them like $2,000. Well, I thought about it a little bit more and how much it would give them the idea and the value of hard work for one, selling healthy products, putting love, care, and attention into the items that you are providing to the public. So I figured $2,000 to pay for that would be an absolute bargain. Sadly, nothing has come of it yet, but I mean, possibly perhaps in your neighborhood you could maybe attempt to employ that strategy and maybe you'll have a better result. But in the meantime, we're going to have to check out. We've reached our limit, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you listening to the Resurrection of Text Messages. I thank you and I salute you. Without you, this isn't possible.